So former President Trump did an interview tonight on Fox with Maria Bartiromo, a primetime interview, and my goodness, guys, was it pathetic. Here are some clips.
They're coming in. You take a look. They're coming in from all foreign countries. I see they're coming in now from Yemen. They're coming in from the Middle East. They're coming in from everywhere. They're dropping them off, and they're pouring into our country.
Mr. President, I know that you received the vaccine. Mrs. Trump also got the vaccine. Would you recommend to our audience that they get the vaccine then?
I would recommend it, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. But, you know, again, we have our freedoms, and we have to live by that, and I agree with that also. But you add the fact that I was the one, and this administration was the one that came up with a vaccine, which is going to save the world, okay? It's going to save. We would be, I think, worse than 1917, where 50 to 100 million people died. The vaccine is such a big thing. When you add it all up, I think we'll do very well in 2 years, and I think we're going to do very well in 4 years. Most honest person. It was a beautiful and perfect statement, and the Washington Post saw that when they heard it, and I guess they were relying on the statement without hearing what was said, but they were relying on the statement made by people in Georgia that run the elections. It's a very terrible thing, a very, very terrible thing for our country. What took place in Georgia, but not only Georgia, what took place in Pennsylvania, what took place in Detroit, Michigan, and Michigan generally, what took place in Wisconsin and Arizona. It is a disgrace. We're like a third world country. And our Supreme Court and our courts didn't have the courage to overturn elections that should have been overturned, because you're talking about decisive amounts, hundreds of thousands and even millions of votes. They're coming in. You take a look. They're coming in from all foreign countries. I see they're coming in now from Yemen. They're coming in from the Middle East. They're coming in from everywhere. They're dropping them off, and they're pouring into our country.
So just on everything, it's all lies and conjecture and taking credit for things that he didn't do and continuing to insist that somehow he actually, was the victor and all of that. It's just wall-to-wall pathetic. I didn't even play you the whole interview or every clip. You can find that on the Fox News YouTube page, I assume. But the point is, this is still a man that hasn't moved on. He's crystallized in November. He's absolutely frozen in that time period. Everything's about how, Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Arizona, they were all unfair to him, and, no one looked at the truth, and the Supreme Court didn't look at the truth, and all of these things were against him. And there's also a real cognitive dissonance, too, about what he's supposed to do with his own supporters. I talked about this over the last couple days, but, I argue Donald Trump needed to tell his supporters to get the vaccine. That fundamentally there was a partisan gap about who was going to get it and who wasn't. And I think a big factor in that was that Donald Trump had yet to really come out and say everyone should do it. And he sort of did that here, but then he turns on a dime and tells people, oh, but you have freedoms and you have rights and you have liberties, and I want to respect that too, which is a dog whistle to the people in the Trump movement that don't want to get it. So the people that hear that are going to be like, oh, he told us to get it because it's politically correct, but he's winking at us that we don't have to. Like, that's the problem here, right? On the one hand, he takes absolute credit. He, as an individual, said, I created this medical advancement, not Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson and the thousands of scientists and the university researchers and everybody in the US government. He takes personal credit more than anyone. And yet he won't 100% tell people to get it, because on the one hand, it's about ego, and on the other hand, it's about feeding in to his conspiratorial, anti-science, base, who just want to do everything because it owns the libs, and I guess not getting inoculated owns the libs. This really shows a pathetic man grasping for relevance. He goes on this show. He's trying to score points. He's making up lies about Joe Biden, about the border, about science, about, the election, and none of it's going to stick, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, he goes to Bartiromo because Bartiromo doesn't do interviews. She does a PR session. There's no actual question here. There's no actual pushback here. It's basically, here's a prepared list of questions, and, we're going to give you these questions, sir, essentially, and you're going to answer them, and you're going to try to look good. And he still looks awful. I mean, there's parts here where he's losing his cool, almost like he's mashing buttons on the phone. You can hear the phone buttons hitting as he's getting, like, flustered, unable to control his emotions. This man, every day that he's not president, you get a sense why he should have never been president, right? Like, his character since his defeat in November and since his leaving of office has shown he was never fit for the job.